Hi, this is Chuck Lavazzi, Senior Performing Arts Critic at 881 KDHX in St. Louis. And this is Chuck's Culture Channel, my YouTube video blog about the performing arts, both in St. Louis and beyond. And with me today is John Stevens, singer and director with Winter Opera of St. Louis, who is going to be directing their production of Gilbert and Sullivan's The Gondoliers, hence the Zoom background I have right now, the Grand
There we
Canal.
go. Yeah.
Yeah,
How are you
uh,
today? It's good to see you. Good to be with you.
just fine. And let's get the dates straight first of all, the dates and location for the show straight, so people know.
All right. Okay. So this is performances will be January 15th and 16th. So we're doing them
Mm-hmm.
back to back. Um,
Right?
Saturday night and Sunday. Sunday's a matinee. I have to confess, I don't know when matinees are down here. I don't know if they're 2:30 or 3. Forgive me. It's a
Well,
matinee. So
I actually have another window here
uh-huh.
where I can look
Uh-huh.
it up and tell you
Thank
exactly
you.
what those. Here we are, Gilbert and Sullivan's The Gondoliers, Saturday, January 15th at 7:30 and Sunday, January 16th at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. All right. Matinee times vary across the country, so 2 p.m. And it's at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about this because it's a new theater, and to me, a
Yes.
new theater is not only a location; it's an event, in my life. And so I was able to. Gina and I poked our heads into the theater last summer because I was just curious.
Hmm.
I grew up in St. Louis. I grew up in Ferguson, and my recollection of Kirkwood was someone that we played in high school football. That was my contact with Kirkwood.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a really neat theater, and I understand the acoustics are really fine. It's for those that are familiar with Winter Opera's work at Chaminade, which I loved that place as well. I think this is
Yeah.
a little smaller and probably, to use the term intimate, I think it's maybe a little bit more intimate and perfect for musical theater of any kind, particularly opera and particularly something like this.
Oh,
So
that's good because the acoustics at the Vera Center I thought were excellent
they
for
were
opera.
excellent. And I think particularly, I have to say, they were particularly good for opera. And I thought, well, anyway, but I think this is, from what I understand, the acoustic here is really good for music and dialogue.
Oh,
And
good.
of course, that's half the deal with Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, for people who may not know, the Gondoliers is it's something of an outlier for Gilbert and Sullivan's operas, or operettas, really. As we said before, I turned the recording on. I'm a huge fan of Gilbert and Sullivan, and I
Uh,
really like this piece, and I love the fact that this was in part, as we were saying, Sullivan's attempt to show that he could be a serious composer,
mhm,
because I
mhm.
think this is the point in his career where he was beginning to feel somewhat the way Conan Doyle did about Sherlock Holmes. And he was
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
trapped by his popular success.
Yeah, he was feeling this was the 12th. I'm not really, I've done so much Gilbert and Sullivan. It's been a big part of my career, both as a singer and a director. And I love the material, but I'm not an actual Gilbert and Sullivan scholar. So,
Right.
I don't, but I did my homework for you. And so this is the 12th
Hmm.
of their 14 um, shows. And it was written, let me check here, 1889. And I'm told it was or I read that it was their last big success. Okay. After that,
Yeah, I think
they
that's
had
right.
the Grand Duke and Utopia Limited. I think anyway, those they didn't enjoy the success of the others. But as you say, Sullivan was wanting to be liberated a little bit from, I think, Mr. Gilbert, who everything I've read was a pretty powerful and somewhat overwhelming guy. And he
Yeah.
wanted to be liberated both from that personality and also just the obligation to set what most people agree, or many people, the best lyrics that were ever written. And so Sullivan felt trapped is not maybe the right word, but anyway, I'll use it. And he, as you say,
Limited.
he wanted, yeah, and so he wanted to he wanted to be free and be more of an operatic composer and be less constrained by the text. And so, yeah, this was the manifestation of that, and it is a spectacular score. And you see in many ways that Sullivan sort of had his moment. All of the music is great, every one of the shows, but I think this has moments of lyric beauty. I have never done this show. I've done virtually all of the other canon. I was trying to count up driving down here. I've done 7 or 8, 9 of the pieces. I've either sung or directed or both, most of the stuff, but I've never done this. And so we're just starting rehearsals. We started Sunday, and we're still parenthetically dealing with a couple of our leads have not been able to get in here yet from New York because the airports are closed, and
Right.
so we're even as you and I talk, we're backstage reorganizing the schedule to accommodate that. But still, I was setting yesterday. I staged 2 duets, and I just kind of stopped, and it was like, and just the music. What can I say? Because I've heard it, but I just thought this is wonderful. It's wonderful lyric, beautiful singing. The cast is fabulous. Gina has a spectacular ear for voices and casts, I think, beautifully. I know that. But I just it's a very special score. And I mean, I was really struck by the lyric beauty of a lot of this music. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that
I think
entire,
I
I
was
was
going to
going to
say
say
that.
that,
Please.
I was going to say that this is the reality of Zoom, folks. I'm sure you all know this.
Yeah. Right.
That that entire first act, or most of that first act, is actually an opera. I mean, there's no spoken dialogue at all for, I think, as you said, 56 pages into the
Right.
first act.
And then it launches into another number. So yeah, as we were saying, I agreed. I said I happily agreed to direct this. Actually, this was supposed to have done just before life shut down. I guess it was last year. Gina had scheduled it, and then we postponed it. Anyway, so I said, of course I'll do it. I bought a score because I didn't know it, knew of it, of course, and cracked the score. And hey presto, it starts with a 56-page ensemble. And I kept on flipping page. How long does this go? But you know what? Every every page is a gem. So it sings itself. The story tells itself so beautifully. Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about that story for people who have not seen Gondoliers, because there haven't been a lot of productions in St. Louis.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen one in decades myself.
Right. Well, it's I Gilbert had this, like, he was trained as a lawyer. I never know when
Mm,
I do Zooms. I always find myself looking at myself in the window, thinking, "Why am I doing that?" I'll look at you instead of myself. It is a weird world we live in. Um, Gilbert studied law, and so his mind worked in these. He delighted in what was then called topsy-turvy, and
mhm.
with wild, convoluted, illogical, and yet strangely completely logical plots. Right, so he just dug that, and so this one involves the whereabouts of the infant king of a mythical country, Barataria, which is in Spain somehow, but they don't really go into a
Yeah.
geography lesson. Everybody speaks Spanish, and so we assume it's a province or something. So where is the king? Because the king was supposedly abducted as an infant and carried off to Venice and raised by a gondolier along with another young boy. So hence the name of the show. So the show is about 2 gondoliers, one of whom we are led to believe is actually the grown-up king of this mythical country. All right, if I confused everybody sufficiently, And so,
Probably
um,
not anyone who's familiar with Gilbert and Sullivan, because this is a typical Gilbert plot. It really
oh
is.
my gosh. Um, when I get through this, I'm going to tell you, I did one of these in Houston. It's a long story. I'll get to that. Remind, just say Houston Pirates, and I will tell you about
Okay.
this one. Anyway, so the two gondoliers don't know that either of them, of course, they have no idea about this past. And so in the meantime, we see them, they're happy gondoliers, they meet two girls, they get married, all is swell. Then they discover that one of them is the long lost king. Of course, they don't know which one. And so as long and some of the funniest bits come when they're told that since they don't know which one is actually the king, they need to rule simultaneously. And so there's all sorts of really neat flip-flopping of dialogue and cutting sentences in half as they and therefore movements in half as they attempt to rule as one. So that gets us going. Then they discover that when they were 6 months old, unbeknownst to them, they had been married to the future queen of Barataria. So not only is one of them the king, that same one is married. So therefore, as when they're informed of this, one of the Don Alhambra, who's the ruler in Venice, says, not only is one of you married and one of you the king, but is also an unintentional bigamist because
Yes.
you were already married. And so, which is quite a line. So anyway, that's the improbable, wacky setup.
Oh,
And then
and on top of that, the queen is secretly in love with someone else.
somebody else, yeah, exactly. And so then you get into, so that's how it, that's the premise, that's how things are set up. And then of course the fun is watching it unravel and
Yeah.
then be tied up. And they typically, so many of the Gilbert and Sullivan's operas involve a mysterious mezzo. And in
Yes.
my mind, she's a combination of Queen Victoria, who would loomed, she was omnipresent, of course, in
Mhm.
that time, and everybody's crazy aunt who was mysterious and had a lot of cats. So there was this sort of
Yeah.
archetypical mysterious mezzo lady who would show up and reveal some secret, and so
Mhm.
that happens at the end.
I always think of her as the Margaret Dumont character.
Well, that's right. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
or
that's
or
just
as
perfect.
or as Anna Russell referred to her, the big fat contralto.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but
Well, that's Anna Russell.
yeah, right. Don't we miss her? Oh, she was good. Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of the
Yeah.
plot.
And there's
That is
also and there's also in the second act there's some actual political satire because the gondoliers are ardent Republicans in the old sense of the term, which means they're opposed to absolute monarchies, and
right,
suddenly one of them is a king.
right.
And so
And so
go ahead.
they change their political stripes immediately when they go, well, of course there are kings, and then there are kings, and and Gilbert spoofs the idea of egalitarian society, right? There's this brilliant scene where they talk about how we're also happy with our various jobs, and one is the Lord High Footman, and one is the
Hmm.
Lord High Chamberman and Chamberlain, and so on and so forth. And uh, yeah, so he enjoys spoofing the idea that he enjoys spoofing human nature,
Yes.
and when political systems attempt to subjugate human nature, i.e., greed and envy and anger and the stuff that makes us people, you get falsehood, and so Gilbert enjoys spoofing that, and also the other political. There's always a political or social commentary. The other one has to do with the fact that the queen is in fact in love with someone who we think is a servant. Um, and then, of course, at the very end, that's revealed to he's anything but the servant.
Hmm.
And I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, there's always these threads, as in any good story, there's always underlying threads of, subplots and things, and of which in this show there are many. So, um, it's a work of genius. it's a great cast. We can talk about that, but it's a wonderful, wonderful group of people. We're heading, today is our third day of rehearsal. We're so just getting started, but it's a good group.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying you were having trouble, some of the principals were having trouble getting into St. Louis because of the issues with the airlines right now in the pandemic.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, the gentleman, the Don Alhambra, the supposed villain, um, was supposed to come in yesterday, and he did, but it was midnight, so I see him for the first time today. I've met many of these people online just to talk to them and talk about dialogue and talk about
Yeah.
concepts. So anyway, and then the two female leads, Tessa and Janetta, are coming in late, so it's all right. It's showbiz. We'll cope.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. No one will ever know. We just hope that everyone gets here safely.
Out of the hat,
That's the
it's that opening night. Yes.
hello. Yeah, the paint is still drying. No, it'll be good. It will be very good. I know some of these people. I've worked with them before, and fortunately, they're very quick and assimilate information very quickly, and they're just seasoned professionals. So I'm not the least bit concerned. I've been there myself. You're looking at wanting to catch a plane to start rehearsals tomorrow, and the plane is canceled, and you've waited 6 hours in line, and so that's what some of these kids are going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's another example of how the pandemic has made life very difficult for the performing
wow,
artists.
yeah, 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 it has. And yet the human spirit is such that we just, you know I like to think we're doing what the Brits say: keep calm and carry on. I'm
Yeah.
not sure we always keep calm, but we are carrying on.
We are
So
carrying on. So once again, been talking here with John Stevens, who is directing The Gondoliers by Gilbert and Sullivan at Winter Opera St. Louis in their new home, the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center. I've seen a show there, and it is a wonderful space. So I'm looking forward to
you'd
seeing
like it?
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you like it? Good. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing
And
it. And it's January 15th and 16th, Saturday at 7:30, Sunday at 2 p.m. Again, I'm looking at my other screen here. And for information, you can go to winteroperastl.org.
right.
And I will also have all this information in the description field on this video, which you can see if you're watching it. So, John, thanks for taking some time to talk to us about the show. It sounds like a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing it.
Oh, we're enjoying getting it ready. That's for sure. Nice
Okay.
to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And for Chuck's Culture Channel, this is Chuck Lavazzi. See you next time.